Kia ora, salam, namaste, sat sri akal. I'm your host Ajay Vasish with The Weekender on Sunday. So, center stage in New Zealand this week have been the passing away of legend rugby player Andy Hayden, ex-All Black captain and agent to sports stars and the person who famously represented that model Rachel Hunter. He has passed away this week at the age of 69. 3 cases of New Zealanders going overseas have tested positive on arrival. Overseas in 2 different countries. 2 cases in Sydney and 1 that flew to South Korea. Will we be able to track them and trace who all they've been in touch with? Probably not. Might be a bit difficult. और अमेरिका में उपराष्ट्रपति पद के प्रमुख दावेदारों में भारतीय मूल की सेनेटर कमला हैरिस का नाम भी है. इसके बारे में चर्चा करेंगे बाद में. और दोबारा स्थगित की गई भारत में खेले जाने वाली T20 की लीग. In the land of IPL, more and more cricket tournaments are falling prey to COVID-19. इसके बारे में भी बात करेंगे. और ग्लोबली अगर देखा जाए तो हमारे पास इस वक्त 17 मिलियन से ज्यादा केसेस कंफर्म्ड है, 9 मिलियन से ज्यादा रिकवरीज and almost 678,000 deaths. In New Zealand, it's quite different. Only 2 cases have gone up. Active cases are just at 22 in quarantine. 1562 cases all up and recovery of 1518. So before we go further, I'd like to start by apologizing for not being able to bring you our scheduled guest, Honorable Kamal Sepuloni. Due to some technical difficulties, we are unable to bring you the interview with her. However, we have our editor, Sandeep Singh, joining us live from another part of Auckland. Welcome to the show, Sandeep ji. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thanks, Ajay. And thanks for letting our viewers and audiences know that we are facing some technical issues. And it's important to mention that Minister was kindly available. She was trying hard to log and connect into our system. And we tried probably 5 to 10 good minutes. And after that, probably we decided to give it a go. And Minister has promised our viewers and readers that she will be coming back soon on our platform. That's a good news.
Thank you. And I think, rescheduling seemed to be the only viable option given the technical glitches. And of course, welcome to the world of, talking online, and welcome to the Zoom world.
Sure, certainly it is. And it's not surprise these days when we have to face those kind of technical issues. And it's glad that everyone, including Minister, our staff and our audiences, they are well aware that once in a while we come across those kind of technical glitch. But as you say, the show must go on. So here you are, and
here we are indeed. So we can touch briefly on some of the topics that we were going to be slating today. Really, it's a case of seeing what is happening on the social development front for the community at large, and also the community that we represent, which is considered within inverted commas an ethnic community, and how the government's response so far is kind of kept the social fabric and stability in the society, yet there may be some issues coming as we go forward. What do you feel will be the long-term aspects that we need to worry about going forward from maybe look at 6 months, 12 months hence from here?
Oh, well, that's a good question. And that's probably only Minister and government would be able to answer. Because from my personal perspective, I think we are still not out of the woods. So probably seeing what will be the impact after 6 to 12 months is a bigger question. I would personally say that probably, we need to look into month-to-month basis because we all know that this wage subsidy thing is going to end in first week of September. And then
that's right.
A lot of experts and mainly opposition national is also saying that we will be seeing a huge amount of job losses. We already are told that probably there is a huge increase in number of people who have been made redundant, increasing into going into benefit and into job seeker things. So probably, it will be wise for us to look into month-to-month basis. And it will be prudent enough that we ask this hard question from Minister that they need to have a look for the next 6 to 12 months.
Certainly. And I think also there's that whole challenge of we are now seeing wave upon wave of repeat COVID-19 cases coming up in different countries. Australia, Melbourne being the closest one to us. And of course, USA, parts of India, Brazil. So opening up the economy and letting people in versus not opening up the economy but trying to keep it supported and running on the people within when there are not enough jobs going, that I think is going to be one of the biggest challenges we are going to be facing, and probably most of the countries in the world.
Surely they are. And when we compare ourselves to most of the country, then probably we all know that New Zealand is in a fortunate situation
We are
that
indeed.
at least we have been able to eliminate virus. At least we think that way.
Yes.
Before this news of last week, which I think you've already mentioned about one of the patient, I would say one of the person who was detected with this coronavirus in South
Yes.
Korea.
Yes.
That news have already created a scare and panic that there might be some evidences of community transmission, that presence
Mm-hmm.
of virus in the community. Well, I don't want to create any panic. Ministry of Health is working very hard, and they have actually been following all those contacts, and till now they have said that there is a very low risk of any community transmission. But still,
Yes.
that does not takes away the tension from our mind, the concerns, the scare that there might be a case that virus is still there in the community. So
Yes.
yes, I would say that it's not that easy. And when we are looking into different other countries outside New Zealand, surely there are repetitive waves coming over there. New Zealand has still been fortunate, but it doesn't mean that we should be complacent, as government is saying. So yes, difficult times ahead, strange times ahead, and we need some cautious, robust planning.
We do indeed, and also without it being an alarmist approach, there's so much we don't understand or know about the virus, and the way it transmits itself. Despite having, you know, so many people in the world, so many governments in the world looking into it, even flying people around the globe, there is no guarantee that the the airplane itself may not be conducive to transmission. So those challenges are going to remain within the industry and within people crossing borders, I think, for a long time.
Definitely, definitely. And well, I would say, repeating what you have said, that without being alarmist, I would still say that the best practice would be to believe in science, rational thinking, and what
Yes.
our experts they are guiding us. And probably that is a recipe for success. That as long as we follow science, we follow the right advice given by experts, then
Hmm.
there is more likelihood that we will survive through and see the light on the other side of the tunnel.
I think it's going to be a very interesting challenge for our society and for our communities in particular. I think the impact going forward, and I'm being maybe a bit philosophical about this, but the impact going forward is going to actually change the shape and form of the societies we live in if this thing carries on for a good year or two more, which is on the cards. It's very likely it could happen. I think the way we conduct ourselves, the new abnormal, might become the new normal.
Surely it is, definitely. And as we have seen that our society and especially our migrant community, they are already paying huge price. Like,
Yes.
I make it a point to remind to ourselves, to everyone we speak, that we have still got more than 10,000 temporary migrants who were ordinarily resident in this country and trying to create a life in this country. They're settling
Hmm.
down and with their pathway to residencies. On one fun night, when we decided to close our border, they were caught on the wrong side of the border, and now
Hmm.
they are struggling to get back. We know that there are thousands and thousands of people whose lives have been turned upside down. They have invested heaps and heaps of money to come to this country and start a life over here initially,
Yes.
and their investment has suddenly gone kaput, and they don't know what's going to happen. Their visas are expiring fast, and as we know that government is also trying, I would say that they are still struggling to offer them a clear plan. So that's the one section of society that we are seeing are being hit most. And then we come back to other segments of our society that includes our ethnic communities,
Yeah.
especially even considering those who are fully settled over here and don't have to worry about their visas or migration situation. Still, they are being affected by the redundancies, by the closure of businesses,
Yes.
like every other New Zealanders. So they are still struggling. So definitely, we are on an uphill road ahead, and we would need some cautious, robust planning from the government of the day.
In fact, I'm almost tempted to go back to my phone. We'd been posting all the chats that were happening on our Facebook page from our viewers. Last time when we had the Minister for Immigration, Chris Fafoy, on our show, the stories coming through were heartrending. People were being affected at so many levels. There was a family in that was stuck overseas. They'd been here for 10 years almost, and they have car loans, they have bank loans, they have put their rental property on hold for a little while, and they're still paying rent on it, and they're trying to make it run in both parts of the world, overseas as well as here, and there's no income. And the kids' school plans are also asunder. So there were so many cases. There was one in particular I remember now, which was about a gentleman whose wife was stuck in India, and he can't get her here. He has to fly there to be able to get her here. And then on top of that, if they don't make it back by October, if they don't get the visas in time, there might be that cost for migrants to isolate, which is in excess of $3,000 or $4,500. So I think those kind of problems are really, really affecting far too many people, and specifically within the Indian community. I know it's a very big concern.
Surely it is, Ajayji, and I can completely understand and relate to the story that you were telling. We regularly get to speak to probably hundreds of those kind of people on a weekly basis, and we empathize with them. And we do our job by asking the tough questions from government and hoping to get some kind of relief for them. We are told occasionally that some kind of relief is coming. And when we do our job, we definitely ask government. But coming back and trying to bring our focus back to what we were supposed to discuss today with the minister, more about Ministry of Social Development. I'm sure that our viewers would know that this is a very big ministry, which basically looks after government's welfare policy and support for people who actually need that benefit and welfare. And this ministry has actually been, I would say, one of the forefront of this government's COVID-19 response. If there were two big departments who were on the forefront leading the government's COVID-19 response, then one was Ministry of Finance, led by Honorable Finance Minister, Mr. Grant Robertson, and then other would be this important ministry,
MSD,
led by Honorable Carmel Sapoloni. And that's why probably it would have been very fascinating to speak to minister and see what kind of responses were out there and what we think in some areas probably our migrant communities might not have. They definitely have got a lot of help from the government. I must acknowledge that. And we will speak to her more about when we get a chance again to speak to her. But yes, there has been some areas where probably our migrant communities, primarily temporary migrant communities, who might not be able to get the kind of help that they were expecting. So those were the areas where we would like to probe more with the minister whenever we get chance again. And yes, for now, probably we can focus on other things.
Absolutely. And we are going to have the good old Kiwi chinwag, chew the cud, generally have a discussion about this week's topics as we go forward. But first, a word from our sponsor. Business Launchpad, chartered accountants can assist business owners with new business setups, annual accounting and tax compliance, business plans, cash flows and forecasts, IRD tax problems, property tax matters, accounting, tax and business services, all under one roof. Now, if you're struggling to pay your taxes or are in trouble with the IRD, you need to contact Business Launchpad CA. They can negotiate with the IRD and provide you with options suitable to your needs. Now, that can also help you save interest and penalties charged by the IRD. If you want to know how to get hold of them, just call them on 09-520-1515 or visit them on www.bizlaunchpad.co.nz. So, among the stories that we were going to kind of touch on today, one of the interesting things that's coming out of the United States is that there's a likelihood that Joe Biden might actually trump Mr. Trump in the November elections. That is, if the elections are not actually put on hold for some strange reason. और उनके बारे में जो बात हो रही है कि बाइडन की जो उपराष्ट्रपति पद के प्रत्याशी हैं, जो उनकी खोज जो है वो अंतिम चरण में पहुंच गई है. बाइडन जल्द ही उपराष्ट्रपति पद के प्रत्याशी बनाने की दौड़ में भाग लेने वाले लोगों से व्यक्तिगत तौर पर संवाद करेंगे, बातचीत होगी उनकी, और उसमें जितने भी लोग बैठे हुए हैं उसमें से 3 लोगों का नाम ज्यादा सबसे ऊपर आ रहा है। ये राष्ट्रपति पद के उम्मीदवार के लिए प्रक्रिया के सबसे अहम हिस्सा होता है। तो उस अहम हिस्से में कौन है? प्रमुख दावेदारों में भारतीय मूल की कैलिफोर्निया की सेनेटर कमला हैरिस, जिनको वहां पे कमाला हैरिस कहा जाता है, और कैलिफोर्निया की प्रतिनिधि भी एक और भी हैं, कैरन बॉस, और ओबामा की राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा सलाहकार रह चुकी सुजैन राइस हैं। So apart from Rice and Boss, I think I'd like to have a chat to my editor about the interesting thing that could happen if Kamala Harris were to get nominated for the post of vice president. I mean, that's all looking in the future and crystal ball stuff. What do you say, Sandeep ji?
Oh, well, I said, as you have already said, it's a crystal ball stuff, and we don't know. But we're talking about American election. I think I do understand that as a Kiwi Indians or as a part of the larger global Indian diaspora, our interest goes into the chances of Kamala Harris, as you said, being elevated to vice president. But to be very honest, right now, with Trump over there and prospects of seeing Trump again in America as an American president, probably that is the number one point of interest. So if you're asking me, probably more than talking about Kamala Harris, I am tempted more to talk about what would America look like if we get to see Trump again as a president.
For 4 more years.
For 4 more years, and that is going to be catastrophic. I'm pretty sure. So probably let's try to speak more about that.
Sure. I mean, Kamala Harris may not make it into the parliament, or into their Senate, or into their government. But I think with Mr. Trump, his unpredictability in one way, and also his style of running government, is a lot of concern for a lot of people around the globe. And with the virus playing havoc with the economies across the globe, it's just raising tensions. So 4 more years of the same might actually escalate tensions a lot more.
Well, definitely, as I said, we will be short of words about if we have to talk about Trump and what kind of impact he creates all around the world. But just to make it more relevant, I'm sure you would have noted that probably last week, Herald reported that on a given day, there were around 250,000 Americans who were looking into Immigration New Zealand's website.
Yes.
So that is kind of interest that Americans, they are looking at to basically leave America, not only because of the catastrophe they are experiencing right now with the spread of coronavirus, but also with the prospects of having to live with Trump more as, for again 4 more years. And New Zealand, courtesy to our success in eliminating coronavirus, and also to Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern's newfound global popularity, is definitely one of the topmost priority where a lot of Americans they are looking at. Well, what we don't want to envisage that what will happen to this beautiful country if we get to see 250,000 Americans coming here. So yeah, a lot of interesting things which can affect us emanating from America.
Yes, I think if you're not a Trump supporter, you're definitely among those 250,000. And also, it could be just a human level. People are afraid of what's going on in that part of the world. It's chaotic. And the COVID response, frankly, has been left wanting. If you compare it to what happened here versus what's happening in America, I know it's a bigger country, they have a federal system, but still, their response has actually been a very unsuccessful one in some ways because of the number of fatalities.
Glad you didn't use the word pathetic. That was very kind of you.
Well, it has been, and I think it's a sad state of affairs in that way.
It is definitely, and to be very honest, Trump's leadership and the way America has responded to this virus has taken a huge toll on the global prestige of America. So probably, this was something very unprecedented of the last 30, 40 odd years, where America has been on the front, leading the charge of most of the global problems and establishing and accentuating its global leadership. But with the kind of pathetic response that we have seen now under Trump's leadership, and which is largely based on his denial of existence of virus and its impact. I think American repetition is taking a huge toll, and
Yes.
a lot of American voters, they would be worrying about that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will translate into a different electoral result when time comes for the elections.
Well, just this week, in fact, Trump announced the fact, well, he didn't quite make it as an announcement that could be put into place, but he did share the fact that he was wondering if the postal vote would work and whether the election would end up being rigged. So maybe they have to delay it.
Well, yeah, we have heard on that. We have followed that news, and from what we know, that decision is not for American president to make. That is a decision that Congress will be making over there, and
Yes.
people, they are fingers crossed. They are hoping that census will prevail on
But
Congress.
since when has Trump worried about what the rest of the Congress or Senate thinks? He comes up with his own fundamentals. हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना
Surely.
अपना फंडा खुद बनाते हैं वो.
Well, yeah, definitely. It's a lot of interest over there, and like everywhere else, we will be watching that space as well, and we will be keeping our readers and viewers informed here in this little beautiful part of the world.
In fact, this is again, we are speculating to some degree, but there was a news report out of America where a very well-regarded linguist and activist, a gentleman by the name of Noam Chomsky, was questioned about what was happening in America, the response at the time of all the Black Lives Matter protests, and the fact that they had sent out paramilitary in parts of America to quell the protests and stuff. And he was of the opinion that there is a definite possibility that Trump could declare martial law in order to basically not leave his position if he could get away with it. And of course, like I said, it's speculation, but with that gentleman, you have no way of knowing what he is or is not going to do.
Surely. So let's not go there and try to find answers.
That topic is too left field for you. I realize it, Sandeep.
Yes. So let's not go there. Yes. It's quite scary to think on what's going and what could possibly happen over there. And we will cross the bridge when we get there. So we will comment on that when we get to reach to that stage.
So while we're on the subject of America, something interesting has also come out of America regarding the vaccines. Anthony Fauci, their sort of primary source in terms of going for some expert advice on the coronavirus, how to deal with it. He was very much part of the original people who came forward with President Trump, but then Trump managed to pick a fight with him as well. But he is asserting that they're going to be doing some tests within the next couple of months, and close to 250,000 Americans have actually put up their hands to be part of that testing phase. उन्होंने वहाँ के जो कांग्रेस के सांसद हैं उनको ये भी बताया कि लगभग 2.5 लाख अभी, और हो सकता है उसके बाद 2.5 लाख लोग और भी ट्रायल में भाग लेने के लिए अपनी इच्छा से तैयार हो जाएंगे. तो do you feel like the kind of warp speed we are giving to this kind of testing is just the need of the hour, or are we kind of toying with nature and courting further disaster?
Well, to be very honest, Rajat, I am not following that news very much, and the reason is that it brings into, I would say, it brings the intersection of many issues. We are talking about over here issue of science. We are talking about issue of politics. We are talking about issue of public health pandemic. And overall, we are talking about American leadership. So as I personally am not following that, but I can definitely think how tricky it's going to be. And what we need to see over there is that America is not the only country where they are working for a vaccine. And after recent American leadership, or I would say failed leadership in leading the charge against this coronavirus global pandemic, I'm not very hopeful that America will be able to maintain its leadership. Well, that's my personal opinion. I believe that there are scientists working all over the world, including here in New Zealand. New Zealand government is investing, I would say, a decent amount in the global research of vaccine. So despite our small size of the nation, I think our scientists, our public health officials, they are working at a very state of art level, I would say, and what they have been able to achieve here in New Zealand is definitely commendable. So I will
Mhm.
rather put my hopes behind them than wasting my time and putting money on Trump and his whatever he's doing over there.
Well, the interesting aside is I used that word warp speed earlier. The agencies in America have actually called it Operation Warp Speed, under which they will do 30 million vaccines. Once, of course, it's been passed by the FDA. So it still has to go through the trial process and testing process. But once it's ready, they are gearing up to do rather large scale production and distribution of the vaccines. And the same is being brought forward by the Russian agencies, RIA, that they are also going to be doing large scale testing, and they are also hoping that they'll actually bring about a vaccine that can help, of course, their people as well as those around the world. So then on top of that, you've got I think Oxford, you've got vaccines being looked at in India as well, and probably in many other countries. I think that they're working on them at the same time. So hopefully some good news is around the corner, and that corner may be 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months away. But we hope there'll be some good news around the corner.
Sure, definitely. And well, yeah, most of the experts they are saying that vaccine will be there. It's just a matter of time. And what excites me more is actually, that how politics is going to unfold while we wait for that vaccine. So when this coronavirus started, probably people they have started, envisaging that it might take around 16 to 18 months or maybe 20 months, which is around about 2 years period.
Hmm.
And that is an area which actually challenges me, or I would say excites me to look into, that how our world will look like if we haven't got a vaccine for, say, next 2 years. What's
Oh,
going to
it's
happen
going to it's going to
to
change
global
drastically.
global aviation industry, global travel regime? What will happen to the lives of migrants like us? Like, most of the migrants in last probably decade or so, they have been economic migrants. They have been traveling all around the world in
Yes.
search of better economic opportunities. And
Hmm.
now, if this travel opportunity is finished, I would say, what will be the shape of the globalization, the unfettered globalization that was unfolding to our world in last probably 50 odd years? Has it
Yes.
come to a stop? Or how will the life of our migrants, that will unfold and pan out in next 2 years, where when there will be no travel opportunities, and with this quarantine cost involved as well, like, how easy it will be for our temporary migrants who have got families back in India or overseas as well, that how frequently they will be able to go back and travel and see their families and come back. How economically viable will that be? So are we, for me personally, as a political journalist, these are the issues that excites me a lot. I personally believe that we are sitting on a cusp of a change,
Hmm.
which if we couldn't manage, or if we fail to manage it wisely, probably we will see a different trajectory in the next 2 to 4 years. And that will be a very, very interesting space to watch.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm actually on the same page as you on that one, and I think that we could actually dedicate an entire program to that. The future post the COVID-19 pandemic, or even while it's happening, because we don't know when the post COVID-19 world is coming. Right now, we have no cure for it.
Hmm. No, definitely. That's a very good idea, Ajay. Let's pick it up and let's try to work and see where we lands.
Okay. During the week, we'll be talking again.
Sure,
Now,
surely.
one other very interesting aspect of something that's close to our hearts as Indians is cricket. And there's been an intersection of most sport and COVID-19 where sport has been disrupted globally. In India, IPL, as you all know, has been postponed. Now, were you aware that there was a T20 league being played just within the states? Like, for instance, one in Tamil Nadu. It's called the TNIPL.
Well, yeah, now I'm aware since you have told.
So they were in their fifth phase. And this is a very interesting piece of news. I wasn't aware of this. And because of the COVID-19 challenge and the fact that you can't really do matches, they've had to cancel this fifth phase. And what's really interesting is Tamil Nadu's got a population of around 83 million people, which means they can easily afford to have their own IPL if they need to. And it's been governed by by an organization called the TNCA, which is, I guess, the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association. They are hoping that they will be able to still bring the tournament back in either November or sometime in the early next year. However, the main interesting thing that's for me that's been very जागरूक करने वाली बात कि हर स्टेट में भी ये चल रही है और जो आईपीएल का बड़ा नेशन वाइड कंपटीशन है और जो आईसीसी का T20 विश्व कप भी है वो भी स्थगित हो चुका है अब तो मुझे लगता है कि इस साल हमें ज्यादा क्रिकेट देखने को नहीं मिलने वाली even the teams in the last series with West Indies and England, I think beyond that we may not see much because there's been so much more spread of COVID-19 happening.
Surely, definitely. And one thing I can assure you that we here in New Zealand are not interested to bring that Tamil Nadu IPL over here. So we have our own issues to manage.
They have 83 million people to take care of it, so it's okay.
Yes. And but coming back to your point, yeah, that's quite right. Cricket, I think cricket administrators and boards, including ICC, they have tried their best to actually continue and push for the game to go through, as we have seen between the series of England and West Indies. But again, there is a huge public health global pandemic still sitting out there, and which is increasing day by day. So I think, yes, these are strange times, difficult times, and at the end of the day, the decision makers, they will have to come and make a balance between what is feasible in the current times without jeopardizing or risking public health. So probably, common sense will prevail at the end and the best decision will come out. Probably, again, my 2 cents to conclude on this matter is that cricket can still wait. I know there are huge money, huge businesses, huge livelihood involved, but still, again, we can only deliver if we are in a position to deliver. So probably waiting for maybe another 6 months before we all begin the extravaganza might not be a bad idea as it is.
Meanwhile, I think jaan hai to jahan hai wali baat hai. So let's focus on security and safety, and the sports world can come and entertain us whenever it's feasible. We'll be looking forward to it, and it'll be welcome. Right, Sandeep ji, on that note, I think we'll try and round off our program or show for today. It was really nice of you to come along and actually, support the changed format, as it were, because we couldn't get the minister on in time. And we hope we can do more of these in the future. This has been quite interesting, hopefully for our viewers as well.
Definitely. And likewise, Ajay, it was pleasure was mine to have this wonderful conversation about everything under the sun. And that's really an interesting topic, I would say, interesting way of carrying forward the show. And I think I agree with you that we might have to come up with these kind of show a little bit more in future as well. So even our audiences, they are basically kept guessing that what we are going to deliver to them. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting Sunday. I would say today's show is a very good show for a Sunday.
So in an interesting way, in every challenge there is some opportunity, and we might have come across another one today.
Sure.
Thank you, Sandeep, for joining us. Now, before we round off totally for this week's show, in our WhatsApp corner, this short one just for today. Now, if you're of a certain age, this might actually resonate with you. If you grew up in the time when रात को आपको उठते हुए बचपन में डर लगता था. एक वक्त था जब रात 12 बजे के बाद भूत, प्रेत, चुड़ैल से डर लगने लगता था ना. लेकिन ट्विटर, व्हाट्सएप और फेसबुक ने इनका रोजगार छीन लिया. Do you agree? I think there is some element of truth in that. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Sorry about the technical glitches in today's show, but I think we actually got a very interesting discussion as a result out of that, and I hope you enjoyed it. आप सब अपना ख्याल रखें, जहां भी हैं, safe रहें, स्वस्थ रहें. I'm your host Ajay Vasish with Weekender on Sunday. And I will see you next Sunday in what is still, for now, abhi bhi, the safest country दुनिया भर में. Kia ora, salam, namaste, sat sri akal. Till next time. Do follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube.